Hey, what's up, everybody? It's KBR Sports, the best sports talk show, your 24-hour day. I'm your host, Brendan Abbott, with my two co-hosts, Kyler Lewis to my right, Rashad Pennell to my left. We're broadcasting to you on WODU Studios, the best in college radio. How y'all doing this morning?
I'm starving.
I feel you. Rashad?
Just trying to make it out here. Times is hard, school is hard, sleep is hard to come by, but they get to the sports.
School ain't hard. It's just terrible.
School is terrible, but you got to think about it, it's a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Education is a privilege. It's something they don't take for granted because there's many that wish they were in the same position to get the same education. Lord knows, Lord knows. But we're about to get into it, y'all. Starting with we're gonna have the topics for today. Going to be the Pro Bowl, and essentially, is there any point even having the Pro Bowl anymore? Because yeah, we'll say that for the Pro Bowl because the Pro Bowl is just the Pro Bowl exactly. And then we're getting to the retirement rumors of Calvin Johnson, and is it really time for Megatron to let hang it up? It's something that you wouldn't have thought would have been said about 2 or 3 years ago. But then going on from that, we'll talk about the Cavs went over the Spurs this past weekend and how big that win was for the Cavaliers. And does that win kind of distinguish them as a team now that can compete with the best of the West? We'll get into that also. And then excuse me. Excuse me. And then former Rams coach Mike Martz had comments about Terrell Owens being one of the finalists for the Hall of Fame. And we seems T.O. is normally in the center of a lot of controversy for a lot of people. And but what he's accomplished as a receiver in the NFL is undoubtedly great. So we'll also get into that. But starting off with the Pro Bowl, man, this game is essentially the NFL's All-Star game. That's exactly what it is. It's NFL's All-Star game. And when you look at how it plays out, it's a game that nobody wants to get hurt in. You have the best players from all around the league, but there are over 100 players that had to be replaced in this game because either there were some in the Super Bowl, there were some that couldn't come because of personal reasons, there were some that couldn't come because of injuries. There were so many players that had to be replaced for this game, and so then you look at it and you're like, what is the Pro Bowl really? You really need to have the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl's lost viewers and ratings for 4 straight years. Um, just watching the game, you see a lot of things they do. I mean, they try to make it entertaining for the fans because now they changed the system from how they had it a few years ago, where it was the AFC versus the NFC, where now they have the Pro Bowl draft, where you draft the best players from either whatever coach is coaching, whichever team gets the chance to draft those players, and they're trying to do things to mix it, to spice it up, so people get enticed enough to watch it. But the loss of viewers shows that it's not enticing enough. I mean, the final score was 49-27. Russell Wilson was the Pro Bowl MVP, along with his teammate Michael Bennett was the defensive MVP because he got the 1 sack in the game and batted a pass down. Russell Wilson threw for 3 touchdowns. He was 8 of 12 for 164 yards. Y'all answer the question for me: is the Pro Bowl useless, or should they change something about it in order to make it to increase ratings for it again? Rashad, let's start with you. What do you think?
I mean, the Pro Bowl is not worthless. I feel like for people who say the Pro Bowl is worthless, they can say the same thing for any All-Star game because just like other than hockey, every other All-Star game, they just make sure they don't get injured but want to play for the fans. That's how these people are. They're a lot of upcoming players who wants to like making the Pro Bowl means something to them. It means like you're the best of the best. Now, yeah, this year we had a lot of injuries, of course, so a lot of people got replaced. That people who wouldn't have been in the Pro Bowl was actually there. But I mean, that's not the case every year. And I mean, it's still a game for the fans to see. You see them have fun. Get to see them have their trip to go to Hawaii. Some of them probably never even been to Hawaii. You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that, they get to go there, they get to play, they get to add extra money to their accounts if they win or lose. Regardless, you get money, but more as you win. So
Well, actually, the replacements, because technically, if the replacements will only get money if they won, because making the Pro Bowl, they don't. There's a stipulation in your contract: if you make the Pro Bowl, you get a bonus. But because the replacements weren't initially chosen to make the Pro Bowl, they don't get that. They don't get that bonus. So the only way they make the extra money is if they win. But yeah, continue. I just want
Okay, but I mean, there's still the other people that who did make it that still played. It wasn't just all replacements, but they get paid. But I understand what you guys. I still understand what you're saying. How like that makes sense that they don't get paid because they didn't technically make the Pro Bowl. But I mean, it's a lot of rules that we don't like, but it's also to protect those players who go and want to stay healthy. It's not as aggressive because people want to stay healthy, but at the same time, it's still football. I mean, I still enjoy watching the Pro Bowl. It's like seeing fantasy teams play together. It's like, how would you see if, like I said, Russell Wilson had these receivers to play with? Actually, you know what I'm saying? Or stuff like that. And you always get to see something like spectacular out of like a lot of receivers and stuff like that. So it's still something fun to watch. It's just the blocking the line and the running isn't as hard. But I say more so for the receivers and corners and the quarterbacks. I feel like it's still a decent game.
How much of the Pro Bowl did you watch?
I was actually home this time. I was out of town, so I didn't get to watch Pro Bowl at all. But every other year, I watched pretty much the whole game. I just happened to miss this one because I wasn't available to a TV.
All right, Khaled. What is your take on it?
I don't think the Pro Bowl is useless either. I do think that they should. The only thing that holds back the Pro Bowl from like getting ratings and stuff like that is it's overshined by the Super Bowl the following week. If it wasn't like directly in like before the Super Bowl, then I think it'll definitely get a whole lot of more viewers. It's like the NBA All-Star game. It's right in the middle of the season. Well, close to the end of the season, and not necessarily right before the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I guess it's more hype for the NBA All-Star game versus the the Pro Bowl. But
go ahead, keep seeing.
But the Pro Bowl, I guess it's a showcase for like some people, some of those big hard fans like Russell Wilson fans or those star wide receiver fans. They want to see their wide receivers go out and play with some of the greatest players in the league.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go see a game where you can see the best of the best play against each other. So I do think that it's not useless. It's definitely it should be altered a little bit so that it can definitely gain more viewers. But it's still a great addition to the NFL history and to the NFL tradition. I mean, I didn't get to see the Pro Bowl game, but I've seen it in the past, and it's definitely been just an amazing game to watch.
49-27. To me, I mean, the Pro Bowl is just the Pro Bowl. It's. I would never say take away the Pro Bowl because the Pro Bowl is a game that recognizes the star players for what they've done throughout the season and acknowledges players for what they've done. It's just like if you try to take away the NHL All-Star game, which was the other day too. There's so many all-stars in the league. You want to recognize all of them for their stellar play and put them on the big stage where fans can recognize these guys for their play. The only thing with the Pro Bowl is the Pro Bowl is a little different from the NBA All-Star game. One, like Khalid said, which he made a good point saying, is that the Pro Bowl is a week before the Super Bowl. So those 10 Panthers players and 4 Broncos players that were selected to the Pro Bowl don't get to play. And imagine how many of the fans would love to have seen Cam Newton in the Pro Bowl. Mm-hmm. He's not going to play. Excuse me. That one being said, there's football's high collision sport, and these guys are gonna of course go half speed because they don't want. I mean, obviously you're not gonna like walk to a guy to tackle him, but you're not trying to lay the big hits on people like you are during the regular season, mm-hmm. because one injury can change how your whole offseason goes down. Your one injury can change you from having a normal getting better offseason to a rehabbing offseason. Those are big deals in the NFL. This getting that time to be, better increase your game makes the difference between throwing a completion percentage of 60 and 65. Excuse me. All those little things, contribute to how a player looks in the next season. And it's a big waste to have something like that happen in a game where you're relatively, especially if you're a replacement, you're relatively not getting paid any extra incentive unless you win. Granted, all the guys, of course, you want your name to go down in history. Like go down as a Pro Bowl MVP, this and that. But at the end of the day, you also know, man, I just want to be good for next season. That's what so many people know, that they just want to be good for next season. Whereas the NBA All-Star game, NBA isn't as high contact. I mean, the last thing I have of recent memory where somebody actually got a, significant injury in the NBA All-Star games when Kobe Bryant got his nose broken by Dwayne Wade when he had an open layup. But other than that, NBA, you don't really have those kind of things. But the difference with the NBA for me in the NFL Pro Bowl is not that all the NFL Pro Bowls are normally blowouts, but definitely the NBA All-Star game, you see the guys turn it on in the fourth quarter. That's normally the time where you really, really see the athletes, like not maybe like second half, third quarter, depending on how the game is ready, how close it already is. But you've seen games where the storylines start to play out. Like you remember that it was an All-Star game a few years ago where Kobe Bryant was guarding LeBron James on the last possession, and he blocked LeBron on the last shot. Kobe fans were eating that up for the longest time. Kobe fans were eating it up just so much just to hold something over LeBron fans. You know what I mean? And it's those little things that you see in an NBA All-Star game, whereas a Pro Bowl, you might not see it as much because even the Pro Bowl, there was a point in time they had Odell Beckham Jr. back there as a safety. They had Richard Sherman back in the back, running a play from the backfield. You see little things like that, and you're just like, well,
See, I have stuff to say to that though.
Okay.
Because it sounds kind of like you're discrediting the Pro Bowl in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember the time when Dwight Howard was pulling up from 3-pointers. You know what I'm saying? And then I've seen plenty of Pro Bowl games where it's been like going in the fourth quarter, everybody's like, yo, we're playing hard because it's coming to winning the money.
I know,
and it's the same thing. And
that this particular Pro Bowl,
it was just this one. Every NBA game doesn't get tight in the fourth quarter in the All-Star.
I said that.
No, you said more so. You see it more often, wasn't it? When the games are close, regardless what sport it is, it's in all All-Star games.
That's what I said. I said that most times in the NBA in the fourth quarter that the games are close, they will play harder. But if it depends on how the game has played out. That's what I said.
So I said why can't you say the most time for the NFL?
And I just said for the Pro Bowl, except for this specific case, it was a route midway through the third quarter.
But you're sitting here.
There have been other Pro Bowls.
You're sitting here saying stuff like Richard Sherman was in the backfield and everything, but you don't say stuff that happens in the NBA.
So if Dwight Howard takes 1-3 in a possession,
and putting Richard Sherman for one play back there running,
Richard Sherman wasn't in there for one play. That's the thing.
Dwight Howard don't just play small.
Dwight Howard's not taking a Steph Curry amount of threes in the All-Star game. Odell Beckham Jr. was lined up as a safety for a whole drive of Team Rice's. Our team was Team Urban. I think it was Team Urban's drive. Yeah, he was on Team Rice. He lined up as a safety for the whole drive. Steph Curry isn't playing center for a whole quarter.
A drive is not the same as a quarter, though.
No, I'm saying, but essentially Steph Curry's not going to play playing center for 5 minutes, right? He doesn't do it in the All-Star game. It's not what happens. I mean, that's my point. I mean, I'm not saying that the All-Star game, the whole game, they're taking the game seriously. That's why I said in the fourth quarter, when it gets tight, or even in the second half of the third quarter, that's when they really start, playing hard or, revving up the intensity, because that's when, it's money time. It's time like who's clutch, who's not, blah, blah, blah. And I said that for the Pro Bowl. I said for the Pro Bowl that people, even though this particular Pro Bowl was a blowout, that there have been past Pro Bowls that have been, I mean, Khaled even said it. There have been past Pro Bowls that he's watched that have been great games that have gone into the fourth quarter, and then guys started playing with a lot more intensity. But the thing is, with football, there's a lot less intense. You're going to see guys competing, but they're still not going to be trying to drive guys into the ground like they are in the regular season. Whereas NBA, you can rev up the intensity of your defense without trying to injure somebody. Football, you're running into these guys are the best of the best of all of the whole league. So you got the best hitter back there trying to hit you. One of the best hitters. I mean, you can get hurt, and that's just a fact. That's a fact. You know what I mean? Whereas the NBA, if Kobe decides to start D'ing up LeBron tough, he's not gonna shove LeBron to the ground or something like that. Some kind of thing. Even the play where Kobe got his nose broken by Dwayne Wade, that was like a freak thing. That was late in the game. Like that. Yeah, that was late in the game when Dwayne Wade didn't want to give up a free layup, and that happened. So that's like one play I can know out of how many years in the past recent years of All-Star games. That's like the one play that stands out. So I'm not trying to discredit the Pro Bowl. I'm just saying that. Oh, you have something to say? Go ahead.
Yeah. So and then, I feel what you're saying. You're not discrediting them, but I want to also bring up when you talked about how the players from the Panthers or the Broncos aren't playing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that format didn't change until 2009, And so technically, those teams after the Super Bowl, a lot of them players still didn't play either. Like even if these teams that went to the Super Bowl before 2009, before they changed it, so it was a week before, it was always a week after. A lot of those players didn't play as well either. More so reasons because they was like they want to stay healthy because they just won a championship team, or because they lost the Super Bowl, they don't want to play in the Pro Bowl. You had a lot of those players the same way too. So technically, you completely take them out, but at the same time, you can't even guarantee a lot of those will even play.
But see, that's the thing. Now it's a guarantee they won't play. Whereas before it was a chance. They could still play. Some guys were hurt that they lost the Super Bowl, yes, but there's a reason why ratings have gone down for 4 straight years. That doesn't just happen out of nowhere. And back,
it's not because the team from those.
No, I'm not saying because it's because of those two. I'm saying that there's the reason why ratings have gone down for 4 straight years. That hasn't happened with the NBA. There's a reason why it hasn't happened. There's a reason why it's happened in the Pro Bowl. I'm not saying that it's because Cam Newton was there, ratings would have went up. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's something with the Pro Bowl game that people don't feel the need to watch it. If this was a Super Bowl, I'm sure that you would have made sure you were home to watch the Super Bowl. But because it was the Pro Bowl, you're like, I can miss some of it. I don't need to watch it. I mean, we had a game that we played at 8:00. I came back and I watched them the Pro Bowl. Malcolm was there ahead of me watching the Pro Bowl. You're like, I don't need to watch it. There's a reason why. If that was a Super Bowl, we would have all been there in attendance to watch the Super Bowl. Am I correct?
Probably wouldn't have went to the game.
Yeah. Super Bowl.
I gotta pay money if we don't go to the Yankees. I'm tripping.
But I'm saying, you would have came back and watched the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, I mean, no. From what I was doing, no. From what I was doing,
you would have came back and watched the Super Bowl.
I mean, I'm not gonna change my stuff up that I
missed the whole Super Bowl. I mean, that you'll miss the Super Bowl.
I don't know. I don't believe that at all. I honestly don't believe that. But
I mean, you have priorities to take care of.
I know, but I'm saying, but most times Super Bowl things are planned around the Super Bowl. You don't do things off spurt. You did what you probably ended up doing. You did off the jump. Decided to do in that moment. It wasn't a decision. It was planned. It was planned pre-planned. Okay, that's just like people plan to have Super Bowl parties.
Other than the game, other than our game, everything else leading up to when the Pro Bowl started into our game was all pre-planned.
No, I'm talking about after the Pro Bowl. I said after the Pro Bowl, me and Malcolm came back and watched it, and you did something else that you felt like you didn't need to watch the Pro Bowl. Even before the Pro Bowl, I mean, before our game, I was watching the Pro Bowl. You know what I'm saying? But something happened afterwards. You're like, I don't need to watch the Pro Bowl, and that was off spurt. You just said everything beforehand was planned. So afterwards, what you decided, I don't need to watch this game. But if that was a Super Bowl, you most likely would have been watching it.
And the thing is, you knew when the Pro Bowl was going to be, and the stuff was already pre-planned, so you wasn't even planning on watching from the beginning.
People send out Super Bowl party invitations ahead of time just to plan for the Super Bowl. That's how pretty much Maya even has sent out, tell the people about her Super Bowl thing she's having, because she wants everybody to be able to plan around it or plan for it, because that's how big the Super Bowl is. Now, if somebody telling me, and the person that tells me they're not planning or whatever around the Super Bowl is somebody that's not that into football, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I mean,
and then sometimes it's not even that, because some people don't even just watch for the game or for the love of the sport. They watch the commercials.
It's the truth. It's the truth. But go on to the next topic. Man, see this man Calvin Johnson, known as Megatron. You could say formerly known as Megatron, whichever one. He recently, made a statement saying that he's contemplating, retiring, or he was planning on retiring in this offseason. He told head coach Jim Caldwell the day after the regular season that he planned on, retiring and during this offseason. And they told him to take some time and to, rethink his decision. And they told him that, there's no rush, just take your time with it. No need to, try and force yourself with it. But people close to Calvin have said that he seems pretty content with his decision. So just to give you all kind of like a background of Calvin Johnson, he was the number 2 overall pick in 2007 in the 2007 draft. He's a 9-year veteran in this league. In 2012, he set the record for NFL season record for 1,964 receiving yards. He's the Lions' all-time franchise leader in receptions with 731, and he's their franchise leader in receiving yards with 11,619. And for anybody that talks about his play has dipped, I mean, he had 1,000 yards receiving this year. He had 88 receptions for 1,214 yards. It was his 6th consecutive 1,000-yard season in the 7th of his career. So do y'all really think that it's time for Megatron to hang it up, or is it just Is it one of those things that he's hanging it up because of his body and himself, or is he hanging it up because of the team he's on? Because of all the years he's been on the Lions, I mean, they've only had really 2 playoff appearances. They've had below 500 records, and they haven't won a playoff game either. They haven't won one playoff game in his time being there either. So, do y'all think that this is more so Megatron retiring because of Megatron? Do you think he has more left in the tank, or do you think it's because of his team? Khaled, start off with you. What do you think?
I think that it's definitely because of his team and because of his body somewhat. I mean, the man's 30. He's gonna be 31 this year, and well, when 2016 season start, and I mean that's fairly older to us, but I mean that's still kind of like it seems like you still got a whole lot left in you at 30 years old. I mean, like you said, he hasn't had this. Isn't really been a decline for him. It's still 1,000-yard season, 1,000 receiving yard season. So he's not declining, and he's playing good. It's just the team that he's on, the environment he's in is just not winning.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that he realizes that he can't go anywhere else and get like the same and have like the same benefits or whatever. But then again, he's not going to be in Detroit winning as well. So his retirement may stem from that. Plus, I mean, I definitely want to see some more Megatron. Definitely. I think especially when people hear other people when players retiring, some of the best players, people really want to see them play a little bit more. Just to see them have like one of those great good farewell seasons.
Amari Cooper said that actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Amari Cooper was like, I mean, when you have somebody that's been in the league so long and so great, it hits you when they're actually time to hang. You feel like they're going to play on that great level for forever, which is what a lot of NBA players are going through now with Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But Rashad, what's your take on it?
I feel like it's more because of his team, because the Detroit Lions have done nothing to help him out. He's never really had like that supporting cast. It's always been Megatron. Megatron had to basically put this team on his back every season, and that's a tough task to do. Like he's witnessed, an 0-16 team.
Dang, yeah.
He's been a part of that. Like his name is in that in history for his greater. Like that's when we was talking about. He was like one of the number one receiver in the league too.
That's crazy.
And you're like, yo, you're the number one receiver, but you can't win a game. Like he's never had support. And I honestly feel like if he was on a decent team, because Lions is. So yeah, if he had a decent team, he would still be in the league at least another 2 years. Because like you said, he can still play. He's had a fairly healthy season, I guess you can say. Fairly healthy.
He's tough through it.
Yeah, he's tough
through it because his ankle has been killing him.
Yeah,
that's what. And he said he has constant body soreness. So, yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like that's a lot. But I feel like it's a lot of NFL players. It's just when you feel like when you're at the point where you're putting your body on the line for no reason, is where it starts to get to players, and that's where I feel like it's got to him at. But I feel like his supporting cast is not them there, and I feel like he just can't stay with them no more.
I think you feel like that he's throwing his body out there with no result.
Yeah, exactly.
No benefit at all.
That's exactly like he just like right now he's honestly just playing for money.
Yeah,
because he doesn't have a team to help him get somewhere.
And then people were also talking about how much his contract plays into this factor with everything going on with their salary cap, and how much their contract negotiations plays a part in his decision to retire. And I feel like it's kind of similar to the Andre Johnson situation, Calvin Johnson, Andre Johnson, but Andre Johnson situation when Andre Johnson was in Houston, because Andre Johnson felt like Houston was never giving him the chances to maximize on his receiving potential. I mean, they got to the playoffs sometimes, but it was always seemed like it was consistent first round exits, which has been the moral of the story for the Detroit Lions. And then you see Andre Johnson, he goes to a team like the Colts, who had just made the AFC Championship last year, and Andrew Luck is hurt for predominantly the whole season. And you look at something like that, and then you're just like, man. But then you look at another receiver whose people were writing off for a while until Carson Palmer arrived, and that was Larry Fitzgerald. And then they made that adjustment to put Larry Fitzgerald in the slot. and it seems like his career's been reborn again, kind of thing. And to me, Larry Fitzgerald is still one of the best receivers in the game. You know what I mean? But people were writing him off for a while because of how bad the team was. But you sometimes you just need that quarterback, and you need somebody. Not to say, Matthew Stafford is a above average quarterback, I would say, but there's just always been something with that Lions team. I don't even know what to put it on. I don't, because there's times when their defense will look good. There's times where their offense will look good, but then there's times where everything just looks bad, and everything just looks terrible. And then, you see it from them letting Ndamukong Suh go. That was your star lineman, and then you let Ndamukong go, and then there's things like that, and it's the team. And then they let go of Jim Schwartz after he had a good season. Not to say Jim Caldwell isn't doing as great, even though they didn't make the playoffs this season, but Jim Caldwell, he did have them in the playoffs last year when they had that game against the Cowboys, but. You look at things like that, and you sit there and you think, man, let me stop saying that. But you sit there and look at it, and you think he's enduring, and people underestimate how painful a high ankle sprain is, and that's consistently what he's been dealing with in recent years. And he played all 16 games of this season, and people were talking about, oh man, this is especially on the Thanksgiving Day game, because that's when he was actually really televised. And people are like, man, is it the return of Megatron now? And I'm like, man, it's crazy because people are talking about, is it the return of Megatron? The dude has, he last year he was evidently hurt, but he still had 1,000 yards receiving. So you're like, people just really just writing off Megatron now. But he when he says that even team treatment isn't helping with his soreness, he's always just consistent, because at the end of the day. What makes Calvin Johnson great was put people, kind of fueled the argument for him being one of the best receivers of all time. There was a point, man. I remember that season when he broke the receiving yards record. People were talking about, is he better than Jerry Rice and kind of things because of how big he is, 6'6", just a freak athlete. He's physical, he's fast, and that's one of the tolls that takes on your body when you're a physical athlete. Your body starts to feel like it's betraying you. It starts to feel like you're breaking down, and then you feel sore at all times. Him being at the receivers, and he's getting hit a lot. A lot of those high collision hits, he's taking them, and he normally was always able to brush them off. But I guess after this, normally, it happens also with the age progression also. But he's felt as though in recent years it's become so bad, because there was even a point in time last season he was contemplating retiring. So I'm guessing in recent years he sat down with the fact that it's become so tough on him, and he told Matthew Stafford and one other player, I can't remember, something Bullock, I think, but he told another player, Matthew Stafford, near the midway through the season, that this could be his last year, and that he wanted them to keep it confidential and keep it on the low about his possible retirement. They respected what he wanted, and it's just sad to see that one of the game's best, it's a 9-year career. 9 years, you feel like it's so short, but it is the NFL where unpredictable things happen. But going on to the NBA, actually, the Cavaliers this past weekend actually won over one of the top teams in the West. Guys, I didn't think I would be able to get a chance to ever say it. I feel like it was something that was a long overdue, but they finally beat a team. Granted, they beat a Spurs team without Tim Duncan, but it's neither here or there. Fact of the matter is, they beat the Spurs, and it's something that's been hovering over the Cavaliers. It's been like this dark cloud over the Cavaliers of whether or not they could beat the teams like the Spurs, the Golden State Warriors, Oklahoma City, teams like that. And they finally beat the Spurs. They beat them 117-103. And it was for the largest lead the Cavs had in the game was it was a 20-point lead. It was for the most part, it was like a game where the Spurs were kind of just hanging around for the whole game. They were kind of always in it, but you never felt like the Cavs were losing control of the game, except for little intervals when the Spurs were going like a 8-0 run and bring the game down to 6 or something like that. But then the Cavs would be like, nope, we're not rocking, and push it back up. Yeah, you know what I mean? And this is the first game that not really the first game, but this against a big-time Western Conference opponent. This is the first time we've seen the big three, really play well together this season against the top West. One thing I want to stop doing, why is every team a big three now? I don't want to know that. Like,
Because,
that's what that.
like,
before we go on this on Cavaliers topic, I actually want to address that
uh-huh.
because it started with the Celtics effect,
Yeah.
and everybody was like, "That's all it takes," and that's all people want to do is get 3 mega stars or 3 superstars, 3
they
all
think
stars,
they
and
won.
do that. Yeah. But I mean, you can't be that Boston Celtics.
Like, I heard Jeff Van Gundy talking about it too, and he was like, "Man, we got to come up with something more creative." And I was sitting there thinking the same thing. I'm like, "Man,
Like every team has a big 3.
you know what I mean? The Cavaliers are a big 3.
Mhm.
The Warriors are a big 3. The Spurs are a big 3.
I'm just gonna say the 3 best players on the team is the big.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
basically.
Like, the Miami Heat was the big 3, like Dwayne Wade, LeBron, Chris Bosh. Now Kyrie, LeBron, Kevin Love. And I heard this great stipulation that they said for the big 3 that we should do before they call a team a big 3. Win a championship
That's
first.
what I was just thinking.
Win a championship first, because I mean you're calling yourselves a big 3, but you haven't won nothing.
I understand Kyrie is a great player, but man don't got a ring yet.
She just threw my man Kyrie on the board.
I mean,
Kevin
it's
Love.
true,
Kevin Love don't got no ring. Hey, sheesh. But I feel like we should come up with some now for all. I mean, I know we're getting a little off topic, but for all the big 3s, I feel like that have been of recent memory, I feel like the team that's deserved it the most has been the big 3 of the San Antonio Spurs with Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and Tim Duncan. Because I mean, those guys have won 4 championships together. They've been to 5 finals, I believe. Yeah, 5 finals, and they've won 4 out of those 5, and then they could have won 5 out of those 5 finals if it were not for Ray Allen corner 3 shot that sends the game into overtime. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of things that could have happened, but at the end of the day, they're 4 out of 5 in their last finals trips. They've been great for the decade and more. You know, for the whole 2000s, 2010, they were great for a decade. They're great through halfway through this decade. I mean, we're already 6 years into this decade. That's crazy. But they've been great for so long that you look at it and you're just like, man, that's what a big 3 is. But and everybody, I feel like we should call them. We need to give them a name like the upcoming 3. Something. I'm not creative with names. The underlings, something. I don't know, but I don't. You don't.
Big 3.
LeBron.
I mean, I'm not discrediting them, but because you gotta look at them as a collective group.
Disrespectful.
That 3 is a lot better than most 3 in the league.
It is.
Underling.
But that 3 hasn't won anything. I mean, the one out of him
DeMar DeRozan and
wait.
What's
Whoa,
he called
them a big 3.
And we're gonna say the 3 best of a team is basically what people call the big 3.
Wait.
Those are underlings.
I never heard nobody.
Those are underlings.
Now, them.
Those are underlings.
I didn't even know they qualified.
They can't be the same. Those are the definition of underlings.
I didn't even know.
We're not gonna say these 3.
This is where
this is going.
Wait 1 second, but I didn't even know they qualified as a 3. DeMar DeRozan.
They're the best of the team. So
Hold on a second.
When you talk about Toronto fans, be like, we got a big 3.
Wait.
Who?
No. Exactly. That's the point. See, Oklahoma City, we know that it's a big 2. It's not no big 3. It's a big 2. Serge Ibaka, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, the best players on the team.
You know, we're gonna
they a big 2.5.
I'm like, who?
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's a big.
They a big 2.5.
The reason why I call them underlings because compared to the Spurs, that's the best nickname I had. I mean, can y'all come up with nicknames for them?
The almost big
3
3
in training or something.
Big 3 in training.
You can't call them underlings.
Big 3 in training.
I would call them little 3. It still sounds disrespectful, don't it?
That sounds bad. That's our worst, actually.
The little 3?
The Cavaliers 3.
I mean, it's not like
Cavaliers 3.
the weakest, 3 weakest players on the team.
But anyway, so this Cavaliers team, they got 1 win. They won't beat this team in a 7-game series because they have the Cavaliers 3. So
the Cavaliers 3.
That's what we call them. The Cavaliers 3.
I mean, I can't say Tim Duncan would have, not made them lose that game, but from statistics, Tim Duncan in there helps that team defensively. It doesn't speed their game up, which a lot of teams are like Tyronn Lue said, we're going to speed this Cavaliers team up. It doesn't make their team go faster, but it helps their team in half court if the team isn't pushing the ball constantly. Mm-hmm. Overall, the Cavaliers did play a good game though, and the Spurs played. I'm not gonna say they played a bad game, but it wasn't the Spurs basketball we used to seeing. But I can't say that the Cavaliers, because they got this win, they're competing with a Western team. I still don't. They have more to prove under Tyronn Lue before I can sit here and say they have a chance to win in the NBA Finals.
All right, Khalid, what you think?
I feel the same way, just because you got one win over the Spurs, especially when the Spurs weren't playing as Spurs usually do. Doesn't qualify you to be the best of that. I mean, be able to compete with the best in the West.
Can I ask you a quick question from what you just said?
Yeah.
I don't want you to go on, then I got to answer another question. But from when you said the Spurs weren't playing how the Spurs normally do, can't some of that be attributed to the Cavaliers' defensive play?
Yeah,
And
of
our
course,
offense,
of course,
how they
of
play on
course.
offense? They're one of the top defense in the league.
What defense?
I mean,
They're
they got
one of the
LeBron.
top defensive
Think
teams in
about
the
it, they got
league.
LeBron on the team.
Wait, okay, hold on. Wait.
LeBron is not that bad on defense.
No. I'm
No,
talking about how great. Yeah,
he's
But
getting.
Tristan
good,
Thompson makes
but-
that middle very hard.
and they got K-Love. My man.
But I'm saying they're one of the
Yeah.
they're top 6 defense in the league.
Kevin Love.
Wait.
Kevin Love.
Yeah, I don't know why you do his name out there.
Yeah,
He's not no defender now. Kevin Love is he takes charges. I'll say that. I'll say credit to Rudy yesterday for taking that charge. But I'll say yeah, man, do bring him over.
Mhm.
But staying on top, what's it called Kevin Love. He's the kind of guy that I mean, he'll be in the spot, I guess, maybe, possibly, sort of. But yeah,
when the time.
but yeah, I was just trying to say that. I mean, the Spurs not playing Spurs basketball. That some of that has to do with the Cavaliers defensively and offensively pushing the tempo,
Mhm.
making them, speeding them up, having to force them to run. Where LaMarcus Aldridge has to play at a faster pace and kind of things where, they might not be always accustomed to that. But yeah, you can continue on what you're saying. I wanted the Cavs to get some of their credit.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah,
I mean, Tim
I
Duncan.
I understand. There's definitely some shouts out to the Cavaliers team, but also too, they also have been they've been adjusting. I think they've really been adjusting the game since that Warriors lost. Not to mention Tyronn Lue also has been. I guess this coaching changed from that first game we saw him coach, and because that was looking kind of bad, but it definitely helped them elevate just find more stable grounds to their play and stuff like that. But I still don't think that they're ready to go 7 games like Rashad was saying with the Spurs, or 7 games with the Warriors,
7 game with the Thunder.
or Thunder.
See that the thing for me with Tyronn Lue is that, I mean, this is really they're just now getting adjusted to what he wants them to do. I mean, that's the only problem with firing a coach in mid-season, which, I mean, Jeff Hornacek just got fired for the Suns. And, that's the only problem with firing a coach mid-season, because it's like whatever coach comes in the middle of the season is expected to make the team just look miraculous from that point on. Like now, whatever team comes in and replaces Jeff Hornacek as the Suns coach is so miraculously supposed to turn the Suns around when they were 2-16 without Eric Bledsoe this season, who's been out with knee issues. So it's like everybody's throwing Mark Jackson's name out whenever a coach gets fired.
He's not a bad coach.
No, he's not a bad coach. I'm saying that's just like the first name that everybody throws out there whenever.
Let's get Mark Jackson.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But I was okay. But he's really just starting. Like the Cavs weren't even conditioned to run the offense the way he wanted them. My contacts are really bothering me, or my left one is. But the Cavs weren't conditioned enough to run the offense the way he wanted them to run it. So now you're starting to see them get into that pace that he wants them to, and you're starting to see it where all 3 members all 3 stars of the Cavaliers are putting up 20. Kyrie Irving has 21. LeBron James gets 29. Kevin Love gets 21. And when those guys can combine like that to score 71 points or so, that's great for your team, because it takes pressure off of your team, the rest of your teammates, and it shows that those guys are all playing in unison. Like those guys all shot efficiently on that game. Kyrie Irving shot 9 of 17. LeBron shot 10 of 17, and Kevin Love shot 8 of 13. And you look at that, and you're just like, they all shot efficiently. That means they were taking, I mean, I did see some of the shots they were making were like tough shots. Like Kyrie Irving, some of the shots he hit in the lane were just like, oh wow, like you saw some of the shots he was hitting, and you're like, that's just Kyrie. Some of those layups that he was hitting in like traffic that he would hit over a David West or somebody like that, or LaMarcus Aldridge. that you're just like, that's just a tough Kyrie shot. It's like some of the shots they were taking were tough shots, but is you're starting to see Kevin Love on being posted up more where he's comfortable at. You saw he was scoring efficiently from the post where he makes his bread and butter at. I mean, he can shoot threes, but his bread and butter is in the post. So I agree with these two when they say that I don't feel like they're like ready to compete with the top teams like the Spurs and the Warriors. I think they could give a Thunder a great game because at times the Thunder to me don't look all that great either because the Thunder. You said what?
They don't.
Yeah, at times the Thunder, you'll see a game where there's a game where all the questions are coming. Oh, is Russell Westbrook shooting too much? All this and that. Are they getting Enes Kanter enough touches? Who was supposed to be their their third/fourth option, whatever, depending on who Serge Ibaka is.
Under 3.
Stop.
Under
Stop.
3.
The Thunder 2.5.
Essentially, yeah. And I guess unless you're putting the two halves and making a 3, sure. You can't end this and you put in Serge together and you make a third player essentially, but that's essentially what it is. But if they play a team like that, then that's the team that you see. And Kevin Durant's had his own demons against LeBron James. I mean, not to say he hasn't showed up, but in that finals when they played each other, it was one of those things that LeBron was legit dominating Kevin Durant kind of thing. Like
that was so long ago.
It was so long ago. It was so long ago.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's still
Durant is a different breed, but then when you look at their regular season matchup records against each other, LeBron has won those. I mean, that is a regular season, but
Westbrook's been hurt a lot of those times too, or Durant's been hurt a lot of those times when they match up against each other.
I could say the same for Dwayne Wade when LeBron played them, and the same thing with Kyrie. You know what I'm saying? So I could say the same exact thing for them. Parallel. My eye, but sheesh. But if you had them playing the Thunder in the finals, which I don't know if you have the Thunder going to the finals, yeah. Would you have them going? Would you have the Cavaliers winning that series?
No, as of right now, no.
How about you, Colin?
I don't know. That's kind of shake. That's kind of iffy.
Who gonna stop my man Enes?
Oh my God!
Of all the people,
stop.
It's the best. Hey, give him about another year. He's an all-star.
No finals.
If
I just think Cleveland might take that.
Because I mean, Timothy Mozgov and Tristan Thompson, they're a little something. They become a little something special, but not Mozgov, but Tristan Thompson is.
With bigs like DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis in the Western Conference, and Draymond Green, and guys like that, there was even a point where people were saying Zaza Pachulia needs to make it into the Western or make it into the All-Star game, but that's up for debate, huh? But I would have to see actually. But going to the last topic, we're talking about Mike Martz and his comments about Terrell Owens actually. And Martz expressed deep displeasure with Terrell being placed in the finalists for making the Hall of Fame this year, since his first year being able to actually be inducted. And he's a receiver, one of the 2 receivers in the finalists, along with Marvin Harrison, who played with the Colts. And Martz's comments were he said surprise isn't the word. You can't print how I felt when T.O. leapfrogged those 2. And when he says those 2, he's referring to former Rams wide receivers Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt. And when he's saying that's just plain out ridiculous. And Owens was asked via Twitter how he felt about it. And he said, LOL, whether it bothers him. He said, LOL, nope, it doesn't surprise me. I expect the devil to become busy when God is in the midst of a blessing. So just to give you all some numbers and background on these guys, in 223 career games, Isaac Bruce posted 1,024 receptions, which is 8th all time. For he had 15,208 receiving yards, which is 4th all time, and he had 91 touchdowns, which is 11 all time. And he had four Pro Bowl appearances, and he also won a ring on the Rams. While you had Holt, who was a 7-time Pro Bowl selection and was named first team All-Pro in 2003 and second team in 2006. He finished his career with 920 catches for 13,382 yards and 74 touchdowns.
14th in all time.
Yeah, and he had this record is a good record. He has the record, NFL record for most consecutive seasons with 90 catches and 1,300 receiving yards. Marks, he hit 6 straight times in the early. It's kind of the same thing. I mean, it's kind of the same record that they're talking about with Calvin Johnson having over 1,000 yards consecutive. I mean, it's because he had consecutive seasons doing it, having 90 catches. That's not easy. Having 90 catches, 1,300 yards each season. That's actually a great achievement actually. And he said, and Martz went on to say, you kind of start with that and said, look at their production. More importantly, look at their yards per catch, and then look at consistently over a long period of time. It'll compare to anybody in some cases. Nobody comes close. I mean, nobody's even close to what Torrey did. Terrell Owens ranks second in receiving yards with 15,934 and third in touchdowns with 153. And while playing for the 49ers in 2000, he set a record at the time. It got broken. But for catches in a game with 20 against the Bears, Marvin Harrison had 1,102 receptions for 14,580 yards and 128 touchdowns, and he made the All-Decade team of the 2000s. Do y'all think Martz's comments are inbounds, or do you believe they're out of bounds? Colin, let's start with you. What do you think?
I think they out of bounds. How you gonna come from a man T.O. like that? Like,
your man T.O.
My man's T.O.
Your man T.O.
My man's T.O. Of course, T.O. has some problems in the media and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of NFL stars do. He made, it seemed like that people don't want to give him his credit, but he was second all time in receiving yards and third in touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Like, this man is good. This man is great. And for you to say he leapfrogged over Hulk and Bruce, that's kind of funny, because this man's actually better than the two. And like his record shows that he's such a great person, like a great great NFL player, a great receiver, and he deserves being in the Hall of Fame. And just to be saying that he just leapfrogged over the two, like he didn't deserve it, is kind of crazy. Although he may have some bad blood with the media and stuff like that, the man's still good. He was good. He was a great receiver, and they need to give the man his props.
All right, Rashad, what do you think?
All right, so there was some stuff that he said that was inbounds and stuff out of bounds. The inbounds is everything he basically said about the stats and everything about what Torrey Holden and Isaac Bruce did. He can say what he wants to say. I mean, we sit here and talk about other people who we feel better, who feel deserve something more deserving. So that's inbounds. He can sit here and say he doesn't think he thinks those two are better than Terrell Owens. What was out of bounds was how he fired shots at him, talking about if my players would have been in the media, did all the stuff that he did, then no doubt they would have been first ballot Hall of Famers or something like that. See, that's still the out of bound part. Like, you can sit here and talk about how you feel your receivers are better, that the ones you coach are better and everything like that, or that was actually part of your that organization. But when you start saying he only made it because he was always in the media, my players was all good players, didn't do anything like that, that's where it's out of bounds at. But I mean, you can't take away from greatness. Bruce and Holt basically played together on opposite sides of the field. So I mean, you can't double team both of them. So I mean, somebody's gonna get off. Now we have T.O. with no help, really. Not like I can't say you don't have no help, but not help like they have, or like Marvin Harrison didn't really have help like they have, really. And you put up the numbers they put up, that's greatness. That's greatness. That's Hall of Fame greatness. Now, I'm not saying that, because I know my man right here, some Rams fan here, and I know I ain't gonna take.
I have objectivity with this one.
I'm not gonna take away from his. I'm not gonna take away from his great receivers that he had there, because they were some great receivers. They had a great running back with them and a great quarterback also. So they just had a great team. I can't take away from greatness that Marvin Harrison and Terrell Owens had, with basically being the only receiver kind of in their system. So it was inbounds and out of bounds.
Well, I believe I actually completely agree with Rashad on his inbounds and out of bounds statement, but because I feel like that's one of the because I don't know why he said that, because that's one of the things that's been, if anything, that's one of the things that would have held T.O. out of the Hall of Fame, because people have always held that against Terrell Owens with his stuff with Donovan McNabb or his stuff with Tony Romo and Jason Witten. If anything, that's been something they've held against Terrell Owens for his whole entire career, that he's been a me player versus a we player. That, when he went to the Cowboys, they had chemistry, But when he felt like Tony was targeting Jason Witten more, he was like, I need my touches. And that friction he created was what messed it up. And then when he went to the Eagles, where they had a great passing and running game with Brian Westbrook there, he kind of, when him and Donovan kind of got into, when he kind of threw Donovan into the bus going to the Super Bowl, when they went to the Super Bowl and they lost, people were kind of blaming Terrell Owens for that, even though they both did play a part on it, Donovan and himself. When, we all remember the, everything, that's my quarterback kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? We all remember T.O. and with his stuff with, for Tony also. But what I would say about T.O. is T.O. stats wise is definitely has accomplished more stats wise. You know what I mean? But where I think I was trying to see Mike's point is that what these guys did, because Rashad, I see what you're saying about he didn't, because there was a time T.O. did play with Jerry Rice also. Granted, it was on the tail end of Jerry Rice's career, but he did also play. He has played.
At the beginning of Terrell Owens' career also.
No, it was, but I'm saying even in the beginning of his career, he was still a great receiver. So he's played with other good receivers. You know what I'm saying? Even playing with Jason Witten is a great tight end. He played with Chad Ochocinco. He's played with other great receivers. Even in Philadelphia, he had Brian Westbrook himself was a running back and he was a great receiver. They had other receivers to complement them in Philadelphia.
You're not really double teaming most of these players.
No, I'm saying, but T.O. was the number one option people try to take away. But I'm saying, if you're double team T.O., somebody else is going to get off on that team also. You know what I'm saying? And then you have Chad Ochocinco on the other side or Jerry Rice on the other side. Jerry Rice is a bigger name than T.O. So either way, T.O.'s going to still get production because somebody's going to be getting off and the defense has to shift. Either they're going to try and single cover somebody or they're going to try and double cover somebody. And either way, it's going to leave single coverage for one guy or something like that. And somebody's going to eat. So T.O. has had a benefit of that also. I'm not going to say that he hasn't had receivers, but it is a fact that T.O. has had better numbers than these two receivers. That's undisputedly a fact. When you're second in receiving yards and third in touchdowns, that's crazy. You know what I mean? And you've played for how many different teams? The man played for the Eagles, the 49ers, for the Cowboys, for the Bengals, for the Bills. The list just keeps going. He almost played for the Seahawks. The list just keeps going on. You know what I mean? So you look at things like that and you're like, man, he's been great he's had a stretch of greatness, but you always wonder why he can never stick with a team. And it was always that stuff with the media and whatever. But then I also wonder if Mike Martz's point goes into the fact that T.O. didn't win a ring. You know what I mean? Because those two guys have won a ring with the greatest show on turf. T.O. never won a ring. And you look at those kind of things and you're just like, when he would be more about the me ball and stuff like that. And Martz is like, look at my guys who kind of, I don't know if he's trying to, I don't know what he's saying with the media thing, because I don't know if you're trying to throw shade at T.O. under the bus kind of thing, under the desk kind of thing, you're throwing shade. But if you're trying to say, look at my guys who were quiet and under the radar kind of guys, and yet they put up the numbers. What Isaac Bruce's numbers are nothing to snock at either. You know what I mean? Like that man was also great. You know what I mean? But what Torrey Holt did with, the consecutive seasons of 90 catches and 1,300 receiving yards, that's great. And that can't be overlooked. It's just that what T.O. did in a total aspect of things. But what I could also say to playing with another great receiver is that it could also take away from your productivity. You know what I mean? Like if you're playing with what Stephen Curry does on the court takes away from what Klay Thompson could do on the court as well. It's the same thing as with if a team has a great passing game, what that running back in the backfield could do is going to take, like, there's probably so many Vikings players that are like, man, I could just Stephon Diggs is probably sitting there as a wide receiver like, man, I could just be torching people. But you had such a great running back, Adrian Peterson, it could take away from you. The Rams, you had Marshall Faulk, all those guys. You had Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, you had Kurt Warner as your quarterback. There's so many players that, not everybody's going to be able to eat, but just the fact that I guess what Martz is saying is that we had so many great players and these guys still put up those numbers. You know what I mean? Like, that's great in of itself. Whereas T.O. did play with other good receivers. You know what I mean? But most times T.O. was going to be that receiver that's going to get targeted, where those guys did game in, game out. You don't know who's coming at you. You don't know, because it could be Marshall Faulk, it could be Torrey Holt, it could be Isaac Bruce. You never knew what was coming at you. But then when you had a team like what they had in Philadelphia, you could say the same thing for T.O., but T.O. didn't always have a team like that. You know what I mean? So it's a toss-up. But at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. That's just the fact of the matter. The numbers don't lie. So I think Martz's comments come out of. I mean, he was a former Rams coach, so of course you're going to
So
have
it's kind of subjective.
Yeah, it's subjective. You're gonna have subjective opinion on these things, but when it comes down to it, now his case against Marvin Harrison, because he didn't really have comments against Marvin Harrison. Really, I guess it was just
said if Marvin Harrison can get in, they can get in.
Yeah, essentially. What did you say?
It was more so about the stats of Marvin Harrison. He's like, well, my guys did this stats, and Marvin Harrison had these stats. Why did they get in? Like he has one Super Bowl. They had one Super Bowl. What's the difference?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like it's those kind of things, and he has a point. You know, I mean, you can't fully just outrule his point. He does have a great point with what he's saying, but I guess we won't know until let me actually see.
They say you're in there. You made it.
The class of 2016 will be decided on Saturday, the day before the Super Bowl, with induction scheduled for August. To be elected, a finalist must receive 80% of the votes to be cast by the selection panel, and maximum of 8 inductees are allowed each year. So Owens has been great enough to get into the Hall of Fame, but we'll just see if.
So I have a question before we get off the air.
Marvin
Harrison or Terrell Owens or both of them, or neither? What are you saying?
If I had to choose one, I say
no. Who do you think? Not if you had to choose. Coming this Saturday, whose name do we hear or whose name we not hear?
The only problem is I just don't know the other people on the other candidates. Yeah, the other candidates. So I can't give you that answer. But I feel like T.O. definitely was going to get in there. I feel like he definitely should get in. If he doesn't get in there, it's because of that media stuff we just highlighted. And people are going to say, oh, well, you did this. You're this guy kind of guy, blah, blah, blah. You were a me guy. But at the end of the day, stats don't lie. So, Charles Barkley got in. And Charles is his own man. That's
it's just Charles.
Yeah, it's Charles. That's all you can say. Charles Barkley is his own guy. But that's going to wrap it up for today, guys. It's KBR Sports, the best sports talk show of your 24-hour day. Also, broadcasting on WODU Live, the best in college radio. Subscribe to the WODU Live YouTube channel where you can see our past shows and other shows as well that you could also be interested in. And then also subscribe to the KBR Sports YouTube channel where you can see our past shows and past segments on there. And follow our Twitter page at KBR_sports where you can see everything that is everything on KBR Sports. All right, y'all take it easy.